I live in California and I own a pet, and I feel like pet owners are all not the same. And because of what one person is not doing, or if they're not caring for their pet, or if they're abusive, or they've had vicious animals, or they're unleashed and they're running all over the neighborhood and they're hurting people, that doesn't mean everybody does the same things. And if they're destructive, people don't like to clean up behind their pets, doesn't mean that everybody is the same. So almost always, I'm always outside cleaning up behind my pets. I always take care of them, take them to the vet, and I always watch them. I keep them contained if I feel like they're going to be nervous about strangers entering my area if they have to do a repair. So I'm very responsible when it comes to my pets. Now, there are people who are nightmare people, pet owners, who they don't take care of their pets, they don't clean up behind them. There's all kinds of laundry list of crazy stories, and some of them are really heartbreaking about animal abuse and also hurting others, and just being a nuisance or annoyance. So I feel like the pet peeves that I have is when people take things too far. When they make accusations or accuse you of something and they haven't actually seen you do it. I have been accused of walking into a building and allowing my pets to go to the bathroom, and then I walk out of the building. One time that happened to me, and I asked them to produce the video. They wouldn't give it to me, and I said, you know why you can't give me the video? Because you never saw me do that. You're just making up a story. Then I remember one time I was walking and I had my pet with me, and I had a bag. We cleaned up, and I was right near an alley, and I could just throw the waste away. So that was what I did. The lady lived on the second floor, and let me tell you, I'm trying to give you a visual picture of how high the second floor was. She had to stick her head out of the window, look down, and then she commented on my dogs. Oh, you have that's a cute dog. She said, could you move up a little further? Because I can smell that. And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. Her second floor was high up enough that you need like maybe 2 or 3 ladders to get to her window. I'm like, how is it that you way up there can smell anything? Especially if I clean up and throw it away. It's not like I'm leaving it out here. So the next day I went past that same area. We didn't even go over there, but I went past that area. It was dog poop everywhere, and I'm thinking she must have said that same thing that she said to me to someone else, and they didn't take that too well, and they left the poop. And every time I go past there, it seems like there's more and more and more poop. And that's what happens when you are mean and you accuse people who aren't doing that. You get people who will do it. And so that sort of a pet peeve of mine is people who make up stories and don't tell the truth. Which brings me to this. I see all the crazy videos people come up with trying to figure out why do people rather have pets as a companion than an actual person, because it's complicated when you're dealing with people, because you can be with a person for like 20, 30 years and they not tell you the truth, and you don't find out until far later, because people know how to lie. Some people are out there, they're very, very sneaky, and they know how to lie, and they know how to hide who they really are. With pets, there's more of a loyalty. They learn you, you learn them, and there's no lying in them. So it's a little less complicated. And here's the other thing I wanted to say. When I was younger, I had a lot of friends. We would go out and hang out. And, you have friends for different things. Friends for shopping, friends for going to a club, friends for like socializing. So now things are a lot different. I think back then we had social media, but it was a lot different than it is now. And now you got cell phones and everything, is out in the open. There's no hiding of information. Everything is out there. There's a lot of things that are exposed. So you see a lot of crazy stories about friends, people who've known people, and you find out they're really not your friends. They're more like your enemies. With friends like that, who needs enemies, right? So people always wonder, especially when you have these people that wonder why they see a woman that would rather have a pet as a companion than to have children. I already had children. My children are adults. So I don't need to have more children. That's for one. The other is, like I said, pets are more loyal, and when you train them well, there's no lying in them. When you're dealing with other individuals, you don't know what you're going to get. And it's unpredictable. And a lot of times people get hurt. And when you get hurt, you don't want to be hurt again. So you'd rather not go through those type of episodes. So you bypass having those relationships, especially if you've had enough of them. And so a lot of times people don't understand that, and they assume that you hadn't had anybody and you need someone in your life to validate who you are, and you don't. You don't need to have somebody in your life to validate who you are as a person, just to have them around, and they do these terrible things to you. And I think it's better for people to wait to have decent relationships rather than rush into relationships. And I see a lot of the young people tend to do that. They get on these dating apps, and there's nightmares with that. And then I seeing situations where people are, flying out to visit people, to meet people. They're taking a lot of risk that I probably wouldn't have. And you always hear in the end that those risks end up being, some are not as bad as others, and others are just like really horrible stories, where a person goes traveling out and they end up catching something fatal, or they end up getting attacked, or they end up getting hurt, or end up missing, all kinds of things like that. And those are risks that I choose not to endeavor in. What I have learned over the years is that we're social creatures as humans, and to be socializing doesn't always mean that you have to socialize with another species that is of your own. Sometimes you can have pets as a companion, and I'm not saying that you won't later develop a relationship with another human, but you may want to wait. You may want to take time to invest in the relationship with someone, because it's serious. When you're older, you begin to think about all of the mistakes that you made, and you don't want to make those again. So you choose wiser who you socialize with, who you become friends. If you have any associates, you choose wiser who you get involved with, if you get involved with anyone at all. So in that sense, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't think a lot of people understand that some people don't want to really get in relationships with people because they probably done that before. Some would rather wait. Some maybe know there's a possibility that could happen, but they're not trying to rush into anything. And so I feel like this culture, this group that we have now today, they're about getting online, hooking up, this hookup culture, and that ain't me. It never really was me. When I was younger, I did date, and I've had plenty of relationships, but I choose to be solo, and this is by choice. I think I have had the best peace in my life by not having any relationship with someone. than when I had relationships with someone, because you got to invest time. You got to, if that person is not caring and they're not really about being in a serious relationship, then you're not going to feel happy no matter what you do. And I feel like some people choose to get in these relationships and they think they can change people, and you cannot change people if they don't want to be changed, and then they don't change themselves. So I've seen people make so many mistakes, and I see young people making the same mistakes that I've seen people make in the past. When I was young, people I've known, they do the same things. It's just new people doing it. The same bad choices, picking the same bad relationships, having the same bad behaviors. I saw a young lady, she was a woman who was saying, I don't know if she was saying these things because she felt like it was going to get her more likes or more attention, but it wasn't good attention. She was saying she didn't mind taking risks. She didn't mind getting involved with anyone and anyone in between. And she also included in there that she didn't take baths, she didn't take care of herself, and that she didn't feel like she needed to take a bath or clean herself. She would sleep with anyone. And I feel like really what that was more a cry of help, and that she had given up on herself and given up on her life. And she's willing to take the risk because she either probably already has something that she can't get rid of, and so she's given up, or she's been hurt so many times. She feels like it's better to have some relationship, even if it's horrible, than to have no relationship whatsoever. But what she hasn't found is peace. So when I hear young women say things that are really disturbing, and it was on TikTok, she said this, I could have got mad. I could have said, oh, you make us look bad. You make all women look bad. But what I heard was a cry for help. I heard that she'd rather be in a horrible relationship than to be lonely. But she keeps looking for this relationship, and all of the relationships, she's still lonely. And so she's still crying out. So no matter who she's with, she's willing to take those risks because she thinks she's going to find something in these people. But she keeps hitting rock bottom. She keeps finding probably people who are predatory, who don't care about her, who look at her as probably lesser than, somebody walking the street. And so she would choose to be with someone because maybe she feels that validates who she is, but she's also having this silent, well, it's not that silent, because what I saw, it looked like it was a loud cry for help. And she's not the only one, and I think there's other young women, they just have a different way of doing things. They get online and they like to have lots of attention, and they don't know what else to do with themselves. So they think that if they put their body out there, if they put themselves at a situation where it's risky, that they'll find the love that they're missing. And that is not how you find it. And a lot of times you don't always find some of your peace in others. You might find it in something else. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a person that gives that to you. So that's what I got from the video when I saw her making those statements. It was pretty sad. So, I feel like pet owners, not all of us are bad. Not all of us are crazy. Some of us might have emotional support animals because maybe we've been through something and it makes us feel some level of comfort to have someone that that there's no lying in them. You can trust that that's your loyal companion. They'll be there. You feed them, you take care of them, and then they guard you, and they're there with you as emotional support. And so a lot of times people don't understand that, and that is what I get from my pets. I just feel like people are like cruel. I know everybody is not like that, but there's a lot that are. Look what's happening in the world. We have people fighting in Washington. We have all the metro cities where there's ICE being deployed, and there's a lot of chaos in some local cities. People that are afraid. There's a lot of fear. There's people that are afraid that they're going to lose their majority status. There's people afraid they're going to lose citizenship, or if they haven't already lost it. There's been a lot of job loss in January. There's been high food prices, high rent, high mortgages. There's probably going to be some other incidences of high levels of disease rate skyrocketing, because I'm seeing the videos coming out that came out back when the AIDS outbreak happened in the early 80s. So I don't know where we're headed, but it isn't good. I can tell you that from where I'm sitting, what I'm looking at. And the news is depressing, because every time you look at it, you're hoping there's some ray of hope that maybe they've resolved some issues, but it just seems like it keeps getting worse. So with that being said, that's why some people desire to have pets, because the pets give them that emotional lift from all of the monotony, having to work and then having to pay bills you haven't paid. You're worried about those. You're trying to keep a roof over your head. You're trying to feed your family. I'd rather deal with my immediate family and my pets than deal with someone that comes into my life and makes my life a living hell. Truly. I've had that. I've had plenty of relationships. I don't need to do that and repeat that again. So for those who wanted to know, why do you see a woman with pets? That might be the reason. So, I mean, looking at all of what's going on and looking at the way the cruelty, it just kind of is just out there in the open. I see videos of men saying they hate their wives. I see videos of people cheating on each other. I see people hooking up with each other, and then they find out the person wasn't for them. Then I see some positive things, but very few of those. Then I see people who were lied to. I see situations where people have chosen to have multiple relationships. I just choose to fly solo, and I don't think anything is wrong with that. I chose this for a specific reason. I like my solitude and my peace. I like dealing with my immediate families, trying to pay my bills, trying to do the best that I can, and trying to live peaceably. And that is pretty much me. Because I have a pet doesn't mean you gotta discriminate me because I'm odd, because I choose to not have a whole gathering. I don't want to have a whole house full of strangers I don't even know that I can trust. So yeah, I choose I choose my solitude over chaos. I see chaos in the world every day. I don't have to live with it. You get what I'm saying? So that's pretty much probably in my stance on why I have the pets that I have. I clean up behind them. My pet peeve is when people accuse me of doing something they know they haven't seen me do, but simply because I don't like to socialize with a whole lot of people. That's the reason why I do what I do, because I know you're not a good person. If you can accuse me and make up a story and lie on me over a pet, and you know I didn't do it, and you don't have video proof to show that I did it, what else would you do if I let you in my life? probably a lot worse than that, right? So that explains that. I choose peace and solitude over chaos.